I saw this clip on TikTok. It was a Daily Show clip. And it reminded me of a discussion that we had previously on this podcast, episode 30 to be specific. So if you want to go back and reference it. And it reminded me of this discussion that we had about basically billionaires paying their fair share, and how if billionaires paid their fair share, the rest of us, degular, middle class, working class people would have so much of a burden released on us, and we could essentially end poverty, okay? And I read this quote from Warren Buffett that broke this down, and I'm just going to play the clip so you can get your mind refreshed. Y'all know Warren Buffett, right? So Warren Buffett at the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholders meeting, which is his company, he said this, quote, "If we send a check like we did last year," he's referring to his company, the tax check that he wrote for his company. "If we send a check like we did last year, and if 800 other companies had done the same thing, no other person in the United States would have had to pay a dime in federal taxes," end quote. Did you hear what I just said? He said that if 800 of the top companies in the United States all paid as much as he paid in taxes last year, none of us degular people would ever have to pay a red cent in federal taxes. His company paid a 21% federal tax rate. Okay? So that was from episode 30, if you want to go check it out, because we in fact did crunch the numbers. And Warren Buffett was indeed correct. And we broke those numbers down. If you want to go back and check it out, episode 30. But this clip, basically is saying that if they just paid a 21%, that's just a normal tax rate, right? My personal income taxes for an individual is 25%. So if I'm paying 25%, a lot of us are out here paying 25%. These motherfucking companies can definitely pay 21%. It's very normal. We're not asking for 80%, 60%, 21%. So if 800 other companies pay 21% in taxes, then we, the regular working class, middle class Americans, would never have to pay any federal taxes, y'all. Not by gouging these companies, not by demanding half of their income in taxes, half of their earnings in taxes, just a mere 21%. And so now every time I come across somebody who discusses this, billionaires, multinational corporations, CEOs paying their fair share, I'm always like, my spidey senses are tingling. And so I saw this clip on social media, and it was a clip from The Daily Show. And this author, his name is Matthew Desmond, and he wrote a book called Poverty, by America. So Poverty by America, as in poverty brought to you by America, aka it's manufactured. If you didn't get it, that's basically what the title is saying, is manufactured poverty. So he came on to The Daily Show, and listen to what he had to say about ending poverty in this country.
And your calculation of how we could end poverty in this country was how much money?
So if you take everyone below the poverty line and lift them above it, that's about $177 billion a year. And it's a super rough estimate, but it gives us a sense of what we're talking about when we're talking about ending poverty, because that's so utterly attainable for us, right? That's less than 1% of our GDP.
Right.
So a study came out that showed that if the top 1% of Americans just paid all the taxes they owed,
Just the ones they owed.
just the ones they owed, and not got taxed at a higher rate, just paid what they owed, we would net about $175 billion a year. So we could just about close the poverty gap.
Just with and without levying other taxes, just collecting what we need.
Right. I mean, so like,
So,
yeah, right. Yeah.
But like when you say that, I just go, no.
Right.
That can't be.
Right.
But be.
Right.
That's insane.
Okay? So this guy who wrote a whole entire book about poverty in America crunched the numbers, and he figured out that if corporations, billionaires, if they just paid what they owed. We're not talking about increasing their taxes to, Franklin Delano Roosevelt time when they were charging like 60, 70% in taxes, just what they owed, AKA the taxes that they be avoiding with their offshore accounts, with their, fantastical accounting, their accounting gymnastics that they do with their Barbados accounts, Bermudas, their Swiss Alps, the Swiss accounts, right? If they weren't doing all these tax shelters and all that stuff, and they just paid what they owed, we don't even got to increase that shit. Then we would be able to end poverty. We could bring everybody above the poverty line in this country. Everybody we could bring above the poverty line in this country. That's just the top 1%. I just wanted to make sure just the top 1%. Not even the top 2, 3, 4, not the top 1%. If they just paid what they actually owed in taxes, and it wouldn't even be more than about 20% of their actual income and earnings. We're not even talking about 40, 50%. Just what they owed. And we could end poverty in this. So if the top 800 corporations in this country just paid what they actually owed in taxes, if they just paid the same effective rate that Warren Buffett paid with his Berkshire Hathaway's taxes at 21%, we would no longer need to pay federal taxes as regular middle class and working class people. If the top 1% just paid what they owed, we could move everybody above the poverty line. We would have no poverty in this country. I mean, it's just so disrespectful.